Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. Planetside 2 coverage is returning to the channel in a pretty big way as far as I'm concerned. It's not that we really stopped doing it, it's just this is a multi-gaming channel and games tend to fall in and out of favor with me, whether it be just because I don't have time to play them or I just don't have time to make good videos. However, as many of you are probably aware, anyone that plays Planetside is already aware of this because they've seen me on the launcher page looking rather threatening. I am participating in the Planetside 2 Ultimate Empire Showdown. What does it involve? Well, essentially one big opportunity to go in-game and trash the supporters of two other YouTube gaming channels. One is by the name of SeaNanners. You're probably aware of him. He has aligned himself with the puny terrorists. The rebels, as they call themselves, the agents of chaos, the ragtag, disorganized group of so-called soldiers that call themselves the new conglomerate. But wait, there is more because, of course, captaining the heretics, the technology lovers, the faction that is more Xenos than man, filth that should be immolated, exsanguinated, eviscerated. Yes, indeed, the Vanu sovereignty led by Toby Turner, aka Tobuscus. Just to make it fair on the other two, Sony's giving them the opportunity to practice until January the 25th, when there will be an Ultimate Empire Showdown. As to what that involves, I cannot reveal that to you as of yet, it is super secret. However, what that does mean is I'll be taking the opportunity to go in-game with my outfit Let the Brit Drop and completely obliterate everyone that gets in our way. If that happens to include SeaNanners and Tobuscus, so much the better. Indeed, the footage that you're seeing in the background is us clashing with a renewed Vanu offensive, led of course by Tobuscus. Needless to say, with our superior loyalty, training, and overwhelming firepower, we are absolutely crushing the Vanu menace. We decided to make it a little bit fair for those guys, because you know what? There's no fun in having a fight if you know what the outcome's going to be, even if you can make a pretty safe assumption. So we only deployed about 100 of Brit, this time around out of the 500 troops that we have in our battalion. Experienced drop troopers, heavy assault, max units, tank drivers, Empire-specific fighter pilots, you name it, we have everything you could possibly need to make a little bit of Vanu soup and new conglomerate kebab. We're good at both of those things, very good in fact. After all, the Vanu sovereignty is being led by an insane madman whose only practice in leading vehicular assaults was in Happy Wheels. What kind of leadership can exactly be provided by SeaNanners of all people? The new conglomerate are now headed up by a man that's terrified of Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman isn't even Planetside canon! As should be blindingly obvious, the superiority is provided by superior firepower, superior training, and loyalty until death. We, as the Terran Republic, desire only one thing: peace and unity on Araxis, and undying allegiance to the military dictatorship. But mostly peace. But look at what happens when we attempt to bring justice to this planet. The NC dogs, cowards that they are, with their stolen equipment and cowardly tactics, continue to be a thorn in our side, soon plucked out. The Vanu sovereignty, as they arrogantly describe themselves, avail themselves of heretical technologies. This forbidden Xeno-Arcana is completely unstable, uncontrollable, and quite frankly a danger to the entirety of Araxis. As a result, it has been decreed that they must be stopped at all costs before they destabilize the entire planet. As a result, I'm asking you to join me in purging the menace. You can do so, of course, by playing Planetside. I haven't really had a chance to talk too much about the game after the actual release of it, which is not exactly uncommon when I do an awful lot of beta coverage, but Planetside 2 is a special game to me, and the reason it's a special game is, of course, that the original game was my first MMO and provided this huge scale combat. As you can probably see on the screen, it's a lot of dudes, a lot of units, and an awful lot of explosions. Planetside 2 provides that as well, in fact on a larger scale, and the fact that they even achieved it boggles my mind. For some reason, no one else has managed to pull it off, really. The closest we've ever gotten, of course, are the larger servers on Mountain Blade, but this takes things to an entirely new level. And I'm not saying it's perfect, because it's not, but at the end of the day, it's also free, so it's worth a try. You can actually play it directly through Steam, or you can just download it from the website. And currently things are looking pretty solid for that game. Let me remind you of the critique that I gave to the game prior to its release. There was a few things that I brought up that I felt were major concerns. One was the performance. Has it improved? Yes. Is it where Sony wanted to be? No. They freely admitted that. But they are working on that over the next couple of months. I'm playing it, and I'm getting probably around 40 FPS in big battles, which is playable, honestly. It's not the best ever, though, I will freely admit that. Though do bear in mind, that's on high detail as well as 1920 by 1080 resolution, so it's possible to get more performance if you knock it down a bit. It's a big game, man, so it does require quite a beastly rig to play it on maximum settings. Indeed, Ultra is currently impossible to play because that is not something that current hardware actually supports. So I'm looking forward to stuff coming out that will actually run it that way. But that's been improved. I hope to see it improved more. Continent locking isn't in the game yet, although there is at least a reward for basically getting about 90% of the continent. They're looking to add continent locking when there's more continents in the game. Why? Because it would really suck if you're one faction driven out of all 3 continents and couldn't get back in. That sounds like an absolutely terrible idea. The AA situation has kind of been resolved. It's been fixed to a certain degree. It's more difficult to bring planes out of the sky now, and it does seem like it's a little bit more balanced. So they have done something to fix that, which is really, really nice. The game does have better tutorials than it did in the beta, which is really, really good, and they've also tightened up the hotspot system, as well as the ability for higher level players to give orders and actually communicate with the rest of their faction, which is useful, and we're seeing that in action. Once orders are given, generally speaking, the Pobbizerg, as we call it, the guys who aren't really involved in organized outfits, tend to move as a herd towards a particular area, and good fights ensue. You're getting plenty of big fights that are very enjoyable indeed. So they have definitely tightened that up. I'm also pretty happy to say that, relatively speaking, the game had a pretty smooth launch compared to other MMOs. I'm not saying it was completely perfect, by no means, and the game still has bugs and ongoing issues that are being resolved with hotfixes and patches. But honestly, while I thought that the aggressive release date would be a bad thing, it doesn't really seem to have harmed the game. The game has a healthy population, the game continues to be very enjoyable to play, and of course playing with a larger group is the best way to have a really, really good time. It is by no means perfect, but it is getting there, and they've done a stellar job in providing what is a very fun, free-to-play experience here on the PC, something that you probably haven't really had a chance to play anything like before, unless you took part in the original Planetside. Also, my comments in the critique about the weapon trials, just being able to not try a weapon before you throw a ton of cert points or money at it in order to get a hold of it, well, that's now dealt with because they actually have a weapon trial system in the game. So, what essentially happened is, SOE listened to the concerns, got them all sorted out, and the game is a lot better for it. Still got a long way to go, but in its current state, it's really fun to play, and it's got plenty of active servers and a good population across the board. Still one of the most popular games currently being played on Steam at the moment. So, if you want to get in there and crush some NC and VS face, then I would encourage you to click the link in the description below this video, and you can head on over and download the game. It is free to play, uses microtransactions if you wish to get a little bit of a head start and buy certain weapons for your soldier or vehicles that you use. Quick pro tip, by the way, on the 21st of December, they are doing a triple cash sale, which means that for every 1 station cash you buy, you get 3. That's pretty ridiculous, and that will be a one-day only event. So I would suggest that you buy a station cash on December the 21st and stock up for future weapons that you wish to pick up, or indeed just stuff like decals and camo. Speaking of decals, this thing right here will be available in-game sooner rather than later, and of course the Filthy NC and Heretical VS will also have their own custom logos that they can apply to their armor and vehicles. I would suggest that you get the TR one, because you will feel a lot better about yourself. That, and if you don't, our elite stormtroopers will knock down your door and beat the crap out of you. For peace! I'm sorry to say that our outfit is currently full, although I will let you know over Twitter as to whether or not we'll be doing additional recruitment drives. We do tend to cull the inactives every couple of weeks, so there are usually spaces that open up in the outfit for those wanting to play with us. Aside from that, of course, there are plenty of other servers you can play on, and I would strongly recommend that the first thing you do as soon as you get into the game is, of course, get into an outfit. You will find that coordinated play is a hell of a lot more fun than pubbing it alone, and you will hopefully have a very fun time indeed by doing so. Loyalty until death, ladies and gentlemen. Further Brit footage will be coming your way over the next few weeks as we crush Tobuscus SeaNanners and the heretic hordes. I'll see you next time.